I am sorry I'm late, but I literally just got off the plane from San Antonio, took an Uber to my apartment, walked in my apartment, put my stuff down, and here I am right now so we could go through game one of the NBA Finals. And look, I might be late, but I won't disappoint because I never disappoint. I will tell you this from being at the game. And by the way, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys as always. And, turn your post notifications on as well. So this way you don't miss a single post from here on the shot clock. So that's number one. Look, being in the arena was my first time in San Antonio in general, ever. It was my first time in that arena, obviously. And I will say this. One of the better viewing experiences I've been to at an NBA arena. Like, they do a great job over there. From everything from the in-game entertainment to the viewing, from a fan's viewing standpoint at an arena. Very nice arena. The crowd was awesome. The Spurs fans were chanting the whole game. Like, they were up, they were into it. It was a great, great environment to be a part of, and obviously made it better that the Knicks won. But what a game and what an environment to be a part of. So shout out to San Antonio. Shout out to the arena. I think it's the Frost Bank Center. They do a great job over there. So shout out to everyone over there in San Antonio for doing an amazing job for game one of the NBA Finals and really had an absolute blast. But that might have been my favorite sporting event that I've ever attended. And I've attended a few incredible sporting events in my life. Plenty of Knicks games, obviously. I've been to Mets World Series games 10 years ago. I've been to Yankees World Series games. I've been to, Giants playoff games. I've been to a Giants Super Bowl too. Exactly. So this is up there. From the viewing experience, like I said, but just the game. That was a good old-fashioned basketball game. If you like basketball, if you're an NBA fan and you just like pure physical, mano-y-mano, roll the ball out there and may the best man win, that was as good a game as you're going to get. Yeah, the shot making wasn't amazing throughout the game last night. Both teams shot the ball poorly from three. Obviously there were a lot of guys who didn't play their best in the game, including Wemby and Jaylen until the end. But it's not always about that. Sometimes it's about the physicality. It's about the want to, the will to win. That game was two physical, good basketball teams just going at it for 48 minutes. Like, that was to be there and witness that in person was something special. And, I think this too, that's one of the reasons I didn't want to see OKC in the final. Forget the fact I thought San Antonio was a better matchup for the Knicks, and I obviously still believe that, even though San Antonio is a really good team. I thought they were a better matchup for the Knicks. I didn't want to see OKC and deal with all the foul stuff. I just didn't. The foul baiting, the flopping, the this, the that, and the refs calling things, and then there was going to be all over social media, all over NBA Twitter. It's going to be everywhere. And that was going to be, as a fan, as an entertainer, forget the fact as a Knicks fan or whatever, that's just not fun basketball. No one wants to watch that. A couple of those games in the Spurs OKC series were unwatchable because of it. And the NBA, and I'm being serious, they're going to have to address that going into the offseason. Like, that is not something they could just sweep under the rug and say, okay, who cares? No. OKC is one of your better teams in the league. They're going to be around for a while. You cannot have that product out there. You need to address the officials and tell them to either officiate them better or talk to someone. Talk to OKC. There's got to be some sort of solution to that, because that was not an enjoyable series as it should have been. Even though the ratings were extremely high, that was more Wemby than playing the number one seed and playing the defending champs. That was not a great series of basketball, aside from game one. And the NBA is going to have to address that, but that's not for today. Last night was what basketball is all about, and that's why you love. And look, I know some Knicks fans were upset at the officiating in the first half. I really didn't think it was that bad, to be completely honest with you. I thought there were a couple calls on Hart that he didn't get the favorable whistle that he could have gotten. It was a little lopsided to San Antonio, but that's what's going to happen sometimes. Wemby got to the line a lot, and he's obviously a load and a handful. And the home team's usually going to get some calls. I didn't think Scott Foster and crew were that bad in that game. I thought that was a pretty solid officiated game. They let them play for the most part, which is what I prefer. And I think you saw what played out because they let them play, and it was like Towns said after the game, it was like two prize fighters going at it. It was a heavyweight fight. It was a joy. It was a joy to watch. And if we had OKC in there, who knows what the product would have been with all the other extracurricular. You're not getting any of that in this series. This is going to be a great pound for pound. Like I said, mano y mano. Let's go. Let's may the best man win series, and that's awesome for the NBA. Now to the game. I thought, from a Knicks standpoint, and I'll start there. It wasn't the same as the Cleveland game one, but again, they started off sluggish after the layoff. Right? Like, they came out, they made a couple shots in the first 3 or 4 possessions, and then after that, their transition defense was poor. Their offensive execution was poor. Obviously, a lot of guys didn't shoot the ball well. This is, again, another rusty kind of start, from the 8 or 9 day layoff, and it's hard to manufacture that. We talked about that a little bit on here before, in the last few days. But it's hard to manufacture playoff intensity. It's hard to manufacture in-game playoff action. You just can't do it. I thought they did a better job. Like, it didn't take them as long this time to get back. Last game, it took them 3.5 quarters. This game, it took them about 2.5 quarters. It's an improvement. And because it was only 2.5 quarters, they had a chance to come back in the game. If they had been 3.5 quarters, in the bag like they were against Cleveland game 1, they wouldn't have been able to beat San Antonio. But because they were down 14 with 6 or 7 minutes left in the third, there was still plenty of time to make their run and turn back into the Knicks that we've seen over these last 12 games, which is nothing short of historic at this point. And let's start there, I guess. Anyone at this point who thinks this isn't for real, then I don't even know what to tell. Then you're just either a Knicks hater, a New York hater, or you need to have your basketball card revoked, your ball knowledge card revoked. Because there's nothing else to see. This team has won 12 games in a row in the playoffs. They said, okay, it was only the East. Now they come on the road in the West, game 1, all the hype for San Antonio, and they win that game by double digits after being down 14. What else does this team need to show you that they're for real? Does that mean they're going to win the series? No. I think they will. I told you that. I picked Knicks in 6 before this series. I think, the way they're playing right now, that they didn't play their best game by any stretch. They actually didn't play well at all, really, until the fourth quarter. I think if they play their basketball, and yes, the Spurs are the toughest matchup for them defensively. Spurs are a really good defensive team. But the way the Knicks are playing on both ends of the floor, the Knicks could win this series sooner than 6 games if they play like they're playing 5 games even. Right? So I'm going to stick Knicks in 6 because that's what I picked. But I think it's not impossible. The way the Knicks are playing, they could advance that even more. And I think what you saw is this team, no matter what, they have a belief now that they can win any game. Down by, it doesn't matter. They've blown teams out. We've seen that from pillar to post. They've won by 50. They've won by 30. They've won by 15. They're down 22 in the fourth. They've come back. Now they're down 14 in the third. They've come back. They can do it any which way you want to do it. That's what's so special about this team. And if you're a Knicks fan, you have a different type of confidence about this team than you've ever had in years past, including last year. Like, the Knicks down 14 in the third. All right, it doesn't look good. I don't think you thought they were going to win at that point. You're like biding time. Then they make a run and they cut it. They tie it at the end of the third quarter. And I said to myself, when they tied at the end of the third quarter and they took a lead early, I said, they're going to win this game. I had no doubt. Because I know what I've been seeing over the last 12 games, which is a generational run that we've never seen, the likes of which we've never seen before. You'd have to go back to the 17 Warriors are really the only team that have had this type of run. Now the only 3 teams to have won 12 games in a row in the playoffs in league history are the 99 Spurs, ironically, whose streak ended in Game 3 against the Knicks in the finals, and the 17 Warriors, whose streak ended in Game 4 against the Cavs in the finals. So this Knicks run now is generational, it's historic, and there's nothing else to say besides they can do it in any which way, and they know they can come back, and they know they can win in a lot of different ways, whether it's running through towns as a hub, whether it's Bridges or Anunoby, whether it's Shamet coming off the bench and hitting shots, whether it's Jaylen obviously closing the deal. They have so many ways to beat you. And their defense has been elite. It's been elite. Aside from the first half, again tonight, second half, for the most part, elite. So if you're not paying attention, if you're just watching these games and you can't admit that to yourself, then you're not serious about how you analyze the game. You're not serious about watching basketball from a objective opinion. This Knicks team is playing historic basketball. And look, there's a long way to go in this series. We all know that. Knicks have now won 12 in a row. They've won 7 straight road games of double-digit points. That's insane. Their point differential is the most in league history, as we know. Continues to be that. But there's a long way to go. And obviously the Spurs need to win game 2. I don't think we need to go over that. That's kind of a must-win for them. As we know, you can't lose the first 2 games at home and expect to come back and win a series. It's almost impossible to do. Nearly impossible. So, but from a Knicks standpoint, there's so many people to shout out in this game. Obviously, we could start with Jaylen all day long, who I did a video earlier this morning. When I say earlier this morning, I mean like 4 o'clock in the morning when I got back to the hotel, on how he's overtaken Mariano as the best closer in New York now. Because that's really what he's become. He's become the greatest closer in basketball. And I don't care who you want on your team. I don't care who, maybe there might be a few guys who are better players. There's no one in the league who's a better closer who you'd rather want the ball in his hands at the end of these games. This man didn't even have a good game tonight. He didn't even have a good shooting game tonight. He didn't. 12 for 31. And he was 5 for 9 the fourth quarter. So that you do the math, that means he was 7 of 22 going into the fourth quarter. Didn't have his best shooting game. Obviously got banged up in the first half with the knee and the ankle, the whole thing. He's going to be better going forward. But again, he has such a sense of belief. And he has such an unflappability to where that when the moment gets the biggest and the stakes are the highest, he rises. He plays his best. He rises to the occasion. And there are a few guys, look, we're talking numbers now with his clutch play if you go look at the numbers, right? We're talking stats that are historic to the point where we're talking Michael Jordan now. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about Michael Jordan. Think about that. That's the type of territory Jaylen's now approaching and gotten into with his clutch play at the end of these games. The greatest clutch player of all time is where he's measured up now. And he deserves it. He's been outrageous at the end of these games. Obviously, the 3-ball, they're down 1 after they blew the 8-point lead, and the Spurs went on a 9-0 run. The Knicks went up 94-86. I think there was about 5 minutes left. At that point, you're like, all right, they're moving this game this way. They look like they're going to be in good shape. Then they can't score a bucket. The Spurs come back with a 9-0 run, take a 1-point lead on the Wemby free throws, and then you're like, under 2 minutes left. Even as a Knicks fan at that point, you still felt like, hey, they're going to find a way to win this game because we've seen them do it. What happens? They get an offensive rebound. Jaylen hits a corner 3, and they never look back. And obviously then the next possession or 2 possessions later, Jaylen hit a ridiculous kind of shooting floater. I don't even know what you call it, a moon ball. He's done that now a few times. He did that in game 1 against Cleveland. I think he put it off the glass instead that time. This time he went straight from the ceiling down through the net. And he's just remarkable. There's nothing else to say about him at this point other than he is remarkable. And I don't know what type of medication they gave him in that first half at halftime or whatever he went into the locker room for his knee and his ankle. But he had some super soldier serum in there because this man in the fourth quarter didn't look remotely affected. And that's what he is. Chat, if you don't realize that, it's not always, there's this famous saying, it's not always the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. This guy is the ultimate testament to that phrase. He has the most grit, heart, determination maybe of anyone in sports right now. 6'1", maybe. He's probably 6 feet, to be honest with you. I've been up close in person with him. He doesn't seem 6'2". He's listed at 6'2". He doesn't seem 6'2". And to do what he does the end of these games, with being so unflappable, nothing phases him at all. He's just totally even keel. He goes about his business. Say, all right, I'm going to get the ball here. I'm going to miss a couple shots maybe, but I'm going to make them when I need to make them. And he did it again last night. Another special performance closing the game out, as he always does. Because he's the greatest closer in New York sports history. And then we have to shout out, to me, the MVP of the game. And it was close. I think who got the MVP of this game? I think there were two candidates. I think you could have given it to either one. They were both extremely impactful. But I'm going to give it to the big man in the middle because of the defense that he played on what we are calling the best big man in the league right now, and an alien, and the guy who's going to change the NBA forever, and already is, Victor Wembanyama. Karl Anthony Towns, on both ends of the floor last night, played about as well as you can play. He was the best player on the floor. It might have been the best two-way game of his entire life. And he's been great in these playoffs, so that's saying a lot. His defense has gone from, you want to say average or below average, to now he's almost an elite defender. If he's not elite, he has been sensational on that end. And what he did last night against Wemby, he completely flummoxed him. He made him get into spots he didn't want to go. He played tough. He didn't commit as many dumb fouls, maybe one or two, but he kept him to a minimum. He stayed out of foul trouble. He made Wemby take tough shots over him, and that's how you have to play him. He executed the game plan to perfection. That's how he was on that end of the floor. And then, on the offensive end, 18 points, right? You're like, all right, 18 points. What's 18 points? Well, they were 18 huge points. Especially in the third quarter, got a couple offensive rebound putbacks, including an and one. The drives he had past Wemby, going to the basket, maybe 4 or 5 of them throughout the game. Making Wemby feel him, making him work on the defensive end. Made a couple nice passes as well. Like he always had, like he has been all playoffs. And then the 12 rebounds, which he's one of the best rebounding bigs we have in this league. But against Wemby, obviously, that's a taller order, even though he's stronger than Wemby. But Wemby, obviously, with his length and his wingspan, you got to really box out. You really got to get physical with him, and he did an amazing job. Towns was special last night. And he deserves all the credit because it's the transformation that he's had. You can leave it at the door, thank you. The transformation that he's had in these playoffs has been almost unfathomable. I don't think we've ever seen a transformation of a player in NBA history that I can remember, like in the middle of a playoff series, in the middle of a playoff run, excuse me. And when I say middle of the playoff run, game 3 of the playoff run, where he's now become someone that, as a Knicks fan, you're like, all right, we know how talented he is. We know how great of an offensive player he is. We know how great of a scorer he is. But A, can I trust him in big games, was a question. B, is he going to play well enough on defense to keep on the court down the stretch of games, which was number 2. And 3, was he going to, as he only had one way he could affect the game, and that was as a scorer. Well, all those things are out the window now. Completely. Number 1, he affects the game in so many ways on offense now with his facilitating, his passing, his vision, his decision-making, and his shooting and scoring. Then now he's a multi-dimensional offensive player that he really makes the defense have to think, who do they want to put on him? And I think you saw the Spurs, and this is just my take on this. No one has really said this because everyone's been shocked that the Spurs put Wemby on Towns and they didn't put Wemby on Hart because that's what everyone thought was going to happen. Kind of similar to what the Cavs did to the Knicks. And I was surprised too, but I think the reason they did that is because Towns' passing has been so good in the playoffs. If they put a smaller player on him, like a Champagnie, Towns' vision to the hoop, he's going to have cutters going all over the place, and they're going to have Wemby moving all over. And I think the Spurs didn't want that to happen. They were almost respecting Towns' passing more than they respected his scoring, which is almost insane. When you think about it, that could even be a thought in these playoffs with where we're at. But that's what it was. They respected his passing more than his scoring, which is, in my opinion, why they put Wemby on him. Now, they switched up the coverages during the game. We saw Wemby on Hart a little bit, too. I think you'll see more of that in Game 2, because I still think that makes more sense, and you adjust from there. But I think that's why they did that. They wanted the length on Towns so he couldn't get easy passing lanes and making those decisions that he's been doing at such a high level to get his teammates easy shots. And now he's a guy that you trust on both ends of the floor. You don't have to take him out at the end of games. He's as good at defensive players they have on the team now. I mean, granted, I get OG and Bridges, but you know what I'm saying. He's been that good. Go watch the tape. There's a 2 or 3 minute clip someone put together of Towns playing defense on Wemby. I might do a video on that later. As good as you could do on that man. As good as you could do on him. You saw what Wemby did to Chet and Hartenstein at times in that last series. And Chet's, one of the best defensive bigs in the league, and Hartenstein's really good too on that end. Towns is playing elite level defense and elite level offense, and he was the MVP of that game. He was the best player on the floor, and he deserves everything, all the accolades he gets. And then the second guy would be Josh Hart, who is one of those guys, and it's funny that he made the analytics comment. I did a video on that earlier, too. After the game 2 of the Cavs, where he said analytics is like leaning on a lamppost. That is a drunk person. It's not going to get you home. It's just to buy time, or whatever it was. Well, he took the analytics thing, and he threw it right out the window last night. Because he only had 3 points on 1 of 5 shooting and 0 of 3 from 3. Now, that's going to have to get better. He has to be a threat on offense, because then the Spurs will just put Wemby on him, and if he's not shooting well, that could be problematic for the Knicks. But this man does so much else on the floor. It's hard to even quantify when you watch the game. If the eye test will tell you this guy is everywhere. He had 15 rebounds in 27 minutes, and the man is 6'5". Think about that. It's remarkable. 6 assists, 4 steals. The guy did everything but sell the popcorn in the arena last night. And he might have done that. I have no idea. The energy, the passion, the will. Those Villanova guys always seem to have it. And Josh Hart is one of those guys. I said this a long time ago. He reminds me of the John Starks of this team for this reason. They're not similar players in their play style, but they are similar players in how they play with this type of chip on their shoulder, this passion, this energy, that he's like the heartbeat of the team. That's what Starks was for the Knicks. That's what Hart is now. No pun intended for his last name, but that's what he is. He is the heartbeat of the team. He's the heart and soul of the team. He pushes the pace for the team. And they missed him in the first half when he was in foul trouble. A couple of those fouls I felt like were bogus. But that's what he does. And he was all over the place last night. In every way. And like Starks, he'll sometimes make you pull your hair out. Right? That's the type of player he is. And you're like, oh, what are you doing? Steals the ball, gets poked from behind. He's not paying attention. He's doing dumb things at times. But you know what? You live with it because he plays so much with this. He's New York. He embodies New York. He plays with that type of endless tenacity and energy that New Yorkers know you need to have to make it in this city. He plays like that. He emblemizes what it's like to make it in New York City. Just watch a basketball game and just watch Josh Hart on a basketball court during a basketball game, and you'll see what it's like to make it in New York. That's what he is. He is out there for 48 minutes or however many he's playing. Last night, 27 because of foul trouble, showing you what it's like to make it in New York. If you need any example, just watch that man play. Because he squeezes every single last ounce out of the orange. Incredible game last night for him. Then Shamet, again, off the bench. 13 big points, hitting big threes, playing great defense. This man, he's going to become a folk hero in New York before he knows it. He might not be able to walk down the street soon, the way he's been playing. If the Knicks get these next 3 games, If the Knicks win 3 more games this series, they win the chip. Right? However it comes. He might not be able to walk down the street. They might have to erect a statue for him too. He's completely changed the genesis of the team because now, if Hart is not shooting well or something's going on with Bridges or whatever, Shamet's a guy you could just bring right in. You could play 5 out with him. He plays great defense. He plays as hard as anyone. You're not losing anything. Played 33 big minutes last night. Incredible performance for him. Mitch. And here's what I would say about Mitch if you're a Knicks fan. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and share with your friends. I appreciate you guys. I think you were worried coming in that Mitch was going to be limited and compromised because of the hand, right? You're like, okay, he broke his hand, he broke his finger, whatever it was. They're saying it's now his 5th metacarpal or tarsal, whatever it is. I forgot which is in your foot and your hand. But now they're saying it's his hand, but he looked, aside from the missed dunk early, he looked fine to me. So I think if you're a Knicks fan, you're relieved. You're like, all right, you can live with that. He's not going to play over Towns at this point anyway, unless Towns is in foul trouble, because Towns is playing that well. So what he did last night, you could live with that. Played good defense on Wemby, got a few rebounds. That's a check plus for Mitch last night with the injury. And I'd like to see Deuce get going. He just hasn't shot. He's the only guy on the team who really hasn't found his shot in these playoffs. I think it'll come at some point. He's too good a shooter. Just hasn't found it. Had some opportunities there in the first half, just couldn't connect. Obviously, though, he had that big bank 3 at the end of the third quarter that tied the game, which was a huge shot. Maybe that'll get him going. Who knows? Going into the next game. But I'd like to see him get going. And the Knicks, they won a game by 10 last night where they really didn't play a good game. I know Wemby didn't play well either, but the Knicks didn't play a good game. OG wasn't good till the fourth quarter. I'm talking about on offense. Bridges wasn't good till the fourth quarter and still didn't have a good game on offense. Both were very good on defense. You know, Brunson didn't have his normal shooting night until the end. So they didn't have a great game, and Hart didn't do anything on offense. So really, they played a B- game for them, and they won by 10. That's got to be very encouraging if you're a Knicks fan. And you know, I think when you look at this Knicks team, they're just on such a roll and they're so connected. They believe no matter what, they could be having a bad game, a great game. It doesn't matter if they shoot well or not. They're going to bring their A-plus energy and tenacity. And I thought they lacked a little bit early in the game, and that was the rust we talked about and just not being in game action like that. But they picked it up in the second half. And if they're going to play like that, they're going to be tough to beat. The numbers don't lie. They're in a generational run playing historic basketball, not by accident, chat. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens going into game 2, the adjustments everyone makes. The Knicks will play better. So will the Spurs. I have a lot of respect for the Spurs. And Wemby, obviously, 6 for 21. He's probably going to play better than that. Fox had a nightmare of a game. A terrible missed shot at the end of the game and then a foul, which kind of ended the game for San Antonio. Vassell was a no-show. You couldn't find him with binoculars last night. Keldon Johnson only playing 8 minutes, 6th man of the year. That was an odd choice from Mitch Johnson. I would think he's going to get more time. You know, I get that it's hard with rotations, but Harrison Barnes playing that more minutes than Keldon Johnson, I don't think that's the right solution for San Antonio. And I think they're going to probably look at that going into game 2. But Harper was great. You'll probably see more of him in game 2. But the Spurs are going to have a dilemma. Because the issue with them, with Harper and Fox, is they're very similar players in a lot of ways. Not just because they're lefty, but because they're both not great outside shooters. So if you have both them in the game at the same time, and then you're going to have to take Vassell or Champagnie off the floor, because you're going to have Castle in there, and you're going to have Wemby in there. So that's 4 guys who are not great shooters that you have in the game. And then you pick either Champagnie or Vassell, and one of those guys is going to be on as the 5th guy. That is not an ideal situation for San Antonio offensively if the Knicks are going to pack the paint and force them, and force, and try to slow down Harper and Fox that way, they're not going to have a lot of shooting around them. So that's not ideal for them. And I think that's why they didn't play Harper down the stretch as well as he played. They had to make a decision. They went with Fox. I think they're going to try both them a little more in game 2. Because Harper was that good. But that's a tricky situation. That's why I think, ultimately, I think they might look to trade Fox in the offseason. Fox is a really good player. This is no disrespect to him. But Harper's got stardom written all over him. He's on his way there. But he needs an opportunity. He needs to take the chain, take the leash off, and let the dog off the leash. Let him out of the cage. And let him roam. And I think they might have to make that decision. Even though you'd like to have both, yes, but it's a dilemma because of their play style to play them both at the same time. We'll see what they do in game 2. In terms of Wemby, look, Wemby had a kind of a very interesting statement after the game. He said, I just got to play normal. I don't even have to play good. And we should be fine. Well, I got news for you, Wemby. Wemby's going to be an amazing, like, I said this before, I think he's got a chance to go down as the greatest player of all time if he keeps working. But he's only 22 right now. He's a great player right now. He's a top defensive player, and he's a good offensive player. He is not a great half-court offensive player right now. He is not an ISO scorer right now. He's just not. And if he can't get deep low in the box, he doesn't have a whole lot of weapons in his arsenal he could go to, which is the Spurs' problem in close games down the stretch, which is why I thought OKC would outlast them in 7 in the last series. Now, granted, OKC was missing 2 key players, which played a role. I think if those guys play, they probably win that series. But Wemby is not a go-to scorer. So if Fox is not being that for San Antonio, they really don't have that right now. So Wemby going 6 for 21, yeah, he's going to play better than that. But I don't think with the Knicks bigs, because the Knicks have multiple physical bigs they can throw at him with Towns and Mitch, and then throw OG in, who's played the best defense of anyone in the league this year against Wemby, and they didn't even need to use OG on him last night. And they've got that in their back pocket still. So if you're the Knicks, you have a lot of options to guard him, and if you could keep him on the perimeter, you're going to be successful because he's not a guy that's going to do, he doesn't have an assortment of moves in his bag yet. He just doesn't. He doesn't have a post game. And his face-up game, he's got a little bit there, but he's not strong enough yet to use his body to get to where he needs to go on the court. He's just not. And the Knicks have strong, big men on their front line. And they're going to use that against him. And they did it in game 1, and I don't think that's a fluke. I don't think Wemby is going to, obviously he could have a big game in any game. He's that good. But I think the Knicks have the right kind of personnel to defend him. So I'm curious. I think this is going to be more up to Mitch Johnson to get him into spots that he wants to be on the floor. He's going to have to call plays and draw up stuff for him because Wemby's not going to do it by himself. Not against this Knicks team, against this Knicks front line, against this Knicks defense. So I can't wait to see the adjustments in game 2 that we're going to see. From both coaches, really, because Mike Brown has a lot to do, too. I mean, let's be honest. The Knicks, again, in the first half, they almost let the game get away from them because they kept leaving Champagnie wide open for 3. They did the same thing earlier this year when he made 11 threes against them. And the Knicks only lost to San Antonio this year. That is the one guy you cannot leave naked on the perimeter. I would say him 1, Vassell 2. You'd like to get at least a close on Vassell. Champagnie, you cannot leave him. He's a backbreaker, and he killed you with 5 threes the first half. What happens? Mike Brown made the adjustment at halftime. They come out in the second half. He gets no open looks, and he makes 0 threes, and that's the difference in the game. Knicks go from down 7 to up 10, 17-point difference. Why? Because the Spurs are not a great half-court team right now. Wemby's not there yet in his development. Castle's not there yet quite in his development. Harper and Fox are probably their 2 best half-court shot creators right now. Fox had a nightmare, and we know he can be inconsistent at times, and he's playing a little gimpy as well. But the Spurs are going to have to, and Mitch Johnson's going to be on him, and maybe Popovich if he's in some of these meetings and between games 1 and 2. They've got to find ways to get Wemby into spots that he likes to get the ball. You can't just have him out on the perimeter dancing and doing tween. He's not going to, that's not going to work. Not against this Knicks team. So I'm very interested to see what their adjustments they make going into game 2. And I think you'll see the Knicks play a lot better on offense as well. Especially OG and Bridges, who really were off until the fourth quarter. OG came alive beginning of the fourth, maybe end of the third, beginning of the fourth, can't remember. And Bridges really never got into his bag. Hit the big free throws, but not really. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I will be back. I'm going to do a special video here in a little bit, recapping my experience in San Antonio, because I had an incredible experience with all the Knicks fans, hanging out with Tracy Morgan, Spike Lee, celebrity Timothy Chalamet, all the celebrities, Fat Joe, everyone was there. We were all together, like 150 Knicks fans near the section. We were all going crazy, hanging out before the game, after the game. Incredible experience. I'm going to go through it a little bit. I'm going to do, so stay tuned, come back. I'm going to probably do this. I have to jump on a pod in about 5 minutes, and when I come back after that, I'm going to break down my experience in San Antonio from when I got off the plane over there, the whole thing, because it was pretty incredible and pretty epic, and I think you guys would enjoy it. I know I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and it was maybe my favorite sporting event I've ever been to. So can't wait to tell you about that as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys as always. Turn on those post notifications, and we'll be back shortly here on the Shot Clock to do a little more of Game 1, the recap of the experience.